Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fellow shedheads around the world. Welcome to Captain My Shed. I'm Captain Mikey, and on this episode we're having a look at this. It's the Axminster AW2260s Planer Thicknesser. Thickness planer? I never really know. But one of them. It's their workshop series thickness planer. I think that's what I'll go with. I've had this in the workshop for possibly over 8 months. It's had quite a few lengths of hardwood go through it, all different sizes too. So I think I'm in a pretty good position now to give you my first impressions of this machine and a review of sorts. If you've watched some videos, you've seen this in use and you've kind of wondered, what is it for, what does it really do? Then I will go over how it's used, what it's used for, and why you might want one in your workshop. I'll also let you know why I chose this one in particular. And then right towards the end of the video, I'll give you my final review and overall impression of this machine. If you're in a rush though and you don't want to watch the video, it's really good. Before I carry on, I thought I'd just tell you what a thickness planer is, what it does. I know a lot of you will know this already, but there might be some people out there looking at this trying to find out what it is, why people use these in their workshops. So I'll give you a quick overview, a quick explanation of what it is, what it can do, and why you might have it in your own workshop. Short story long, it's two machines in one. The top deck here is a planer. The bed here is in two parts. This part can be lowered below the height of this part. This side of the deck is at the same height as the cutting head. So if the difference between this and this is 1 millimeter, then as you slide this piece through up onto the next deck, the cutter head takes away that 1 millimeter and you manage to shave off 1 millimeter for the full length of the board, giving you a lovely flat face. Once you've got that flat face, you can do the same process but using the face up against this fence, which should be set to perfectly 90 degrees in relation to the bed. And again, same thing. Now you will have a flat face and a square edge. That one edge perfectly square to the face that you've just planed. Once you've got a flat face, you can take it through the thickness portion of the machine, the second machine in this combo. And to do that, you lift up the deck, flip open your dust collection point, and set your height here, the thickness of the material you want. Set it with this here. Now when you put the flat face on the cast iron bed that sits inside here, there are rollers which automatically pull the piece through, and it passes underneath the same cutter head, taking off the top this time and making it perfectly parallel with the underside. So now you've got 3 plain faces, and you can either use the straight edge up against the fence on your table saw and rip that, or you could even put it on edge and put it through the thickness planer, the same again, and now you'll have parallel faces all round, 90 degrees to one another. One perfect piece of stock. Basically, it allows me to utilize rough sawn timber and size it to the size that I want, ready for whatever project I'm doing. So if you're doing a lot of that, you can see that you would save money over time, and although this is a fairly expensive machine, it will pay for itself by saving me money on the timber that I get to use. Now that was probably all clear as mud, but hopefully you've got some idea now of what this is and why you might want one.
Pause here if you want to copy down those dimensions. One thing you're definitely going to want to do is have a plan of how to get this thing into your workshop or your shed, wherever you're having it. It's incredibly heavy, about 170 kilos. You'll definitely need a spare pair of hands to help you out. And once you're in the workshop, try and get it onto a set of wheels. You can buy things for this. You can caster bases. I just got some heavy duty small caster wheels and put them on 18mm ply, and that's worked really well so far, and it's dead cheap. We'll have a quick tour around the planer thicknesser now so you can see what it looks like. There will be a full description and specification in the details below, so check that out if you want to know a little bit more about this machine. But you can see the quality of the parts here, the components that go into making this planer thicknesser. So this is the guard, the cutter guard, and it's pretty much generic to most of these planer thicknessers. They will have something like this. This is a lockable lever. This changes the height of your deck from level to 3 millimeters. Those increments are in millimeters. 3 is quite a heavy cut. I rarely use more than 1 millimeter. It gives a nicer finish, I find, and you can go finer again if you want to do a finishing cut. Now, over the year, the fence has slipped out of square here. I've never really set it up. So what you need to do, this is a limiting screw at the back here. Unlock it, back off the limiting screw, square it up, tighten it up again, and then reset the screw, and we are square. Now this fence is an aluminium extrusion, but it is really, really flat and very solid. It feels solid. Quite versatile too. This isn't a smooth operation, but it's not difficult. And those end caps, if you get them flat to the table before you lock off using the locking lever, you will get a decent 45 degree, pretty accurate 45 degree slope there. And importantly, when you return this, again, pushing it hard up against that set screw, you can see that we are returning back to 90 degrees, and that's important. I thought I'd just show you a couple of shots of me planing some heavy duty pieces on this planer. This is probably the widest board that I've ever put through. It's solid beech, and you can see the ghost of Mikey past. Well pleased with that. To convert this from a planer into thicknessing mode or thinnessing mode, whatever you want to call it, it's that one deck lift, which I really like. Flip the dust hood over and attach your extraction hose, easy for me to say. That's a quick look at the Cutterblock. It's a really nicely machined piece of kit. We will talk about that a little bit later. It is only 24 cutting teeth, but it does do a nice job. Like I say, we'll talk about it later. I opened up the back of the machine just to give you a quick look at what's inside. It's pretty basic stuff. That big wheel that you see spinning there, when you move that lever, it engages the roller which pulls your workpiece through the thicknesser. I don't know what it's made of. It's quite an interesting material. That's a quick look at the motor, and then just one more spin of that wheel because it's satisfying to watch. Lovely. The hand wheel, nice and heavy and smooth to use. I've found the settings to be pretty accurate, although I do tend to use a set of verniers if I want to cut something really accurately. The material capacity for this machine is you can plane up to 250 millimeters wide and thickness material up to 180 mil thick, and I think that's pretty decent for a home workshop machine.
Seems like a good point in the video to tell you a little bit about how this has been performing over, I think I said 8 months at the beginning of the video. It's actually been closer to 12 now, and it's been performing really well. One thing I found interesting, and something I think if you're watching this video you'll be interested in as well. While I was researching this, I noticed that Rag and Bone Brown, I'm sure you're familiar with his channel, had released a video all about the various planer thicknesses he was considering, and they happened to be pretty much in line with the models that I was looking at the time. Now, I don't know Keith, but I have reached out to him and asked if he would mind me including a link to his video comparing machines in the description below, and he said that's fine, so I've done that. What I found interesting was he ended up upgrading the electrical supply in his workshop to allow for a 16 amp machine, and he ended up selecting the Itech 260SS machine, and when I saw it I thought it's an identical machine. And I think if you watch his video, I'll link that video on that machine as well, you'll see it's exactly the same machine. It must be made in the same factory, apart from two quite big differences. One is the power. This is 1.5 kilowatt, and obviously being 230 volt, I can't expect too much more out of it. But one of the big differences was the cutter head. Now this has a 24 tooth dual row cutter head, whereas the Itech I think has a 64 or 66 tooth multi-row, again a helical head. Something's going on. Standby caller. Right, we're back. It's not the end of days, just a power cut. And where were we? We were talking about the difference between this and the Itech, and why I found it interesting, and something that I wanted to address is the cutter head. And I think the cutter head played quite a big part in the decision making that Keith at Rag and Bone made, and that is that this looks a little bit more lightweight than certainly if you look at the cutter head on the Itech. And the question is, can it cut it? I know that it raised concerns with him, and I would imagine it will be the same for some of you. So I just thought I'd put your fears to rest on that point. The cutter leaves a really nice finish, I have to say. I'll show you a close-up now, but it leaves a beautiful finish, and I have used the big brother of this, and the finish is actually comparable, I would say. I may need to use a slightly slower feed rate through here to achieve that, but I do achieve it. If you want to maintain a 230 volt system and setup, if you want to stay under £2,000 spend, and if you're only doing light, medium, occasional heavy work as a hobbyist / serious hobbyist, then this is a really good machine. It's quiet, it's well made, the dust extraction is not bad considering what it does, and of all my machines it's not the messiest because the chip size is quite big. So if anything, the chips do fall to the inside of the machine. At least they're contained. I can stick a hoover in there and clean them out. There are some upgrades you can do to improve that. Perhaps we'll do a video showing you how to set this up if you're out of whack, and also how to make the dust extraction slightly more efficient maybe. Axminster have done a great job setting this up out of the factory, even though, as you saw, my friend and I struggled with it all the way up the garden using the table as our point of lifting, because what else were you going to use? It stayed true and flat and straight and all the things you want it to be straight out the factory. The fence is 90 degrees to the bed. There's a link to this machine in the description below, so please have a look. I am an Axminster affiliate. I earn a tiny amount of commission on anything that you might buy from Axminster. I'm such a small channel, it doesn't really matter, and the review that I've just given you is 100% honest, I can assure you. If I didn't like a product, I just wouldn't use it, and that is not the case with this. This is a really good piece of kit, really good investment for my workshop, and yeah, perhaps consider it for your own. For now though, take it easy. See you next time.